The Woody Johnson position he was supposed to, coulda, woulda, shoulda taken with Trump is now filled. Does that mean Woody Johnson is back? Is he going somewhere else? What the hell's going on? Plus, Aaron Rodgers had some very interesting comments on the Pat McAfee show. And Izzy Bennett kinda went where? Oh, yeah, we've got you covered.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
I made it clear that my intention was to play, and my intention was to play for the New York Jets.
You're fucking Russian!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm your somewhat handsome host here for Boy Green Daily, talking all things New York Jets every single day, live at 7:30 in the morning. And right off the top, I'll let you guys know we've got the Boy Green emoji and giveaway contest. Every membership you guys give will enter you into a contest for a custom emoji. Whoever gifts the most memberships by the end of the month will win an emoji. And for every 5 memberships you gift, if you gift 5 at a time, or more, 10, 15, 20, you will get a raffle ticket to our Jets Surprise giveaway that includes Jets merch, autographed merch, hats, shirts, jersey. Oh boy, the pile of prizes are endless, baby. So make sure you guys hop on that train. You don't want to miss it. That's throughout the entire month of December to give back to you guys, the fans. And speaking of, shout out to MFC, mother_effing_chew. Right off the top rope, gifting a membership, he has been entered into our emoji giveaway. And Big Green, you are now the latest member to the Boy Green Coffee Club, so God bless and welcome to the show. I said I'm your somewhat handsome host. Let's go to our somewhat more handsome co-host on today's show. That is Nick Ferry, our Jets reporter from Athlon Sports. What's up, Nick?
Hey Paul, how's everything going?
Not too shabby, although there's a lot going on in Jets land. Of course there is, which I appreciate from a content perspective. Thank you for keeping me employed. Nick, let's start here, the Woody Johnson thing. Now, I'll just be very blunt. I normally don't talk politics on the show because that's above my pay grade. I'm just, I'm rooting for the green team. I'm a very simple man, Nick, with very simple tastes. However, from what I understand, the position that we all assumed Woody was going to take with the Trump administration has been filled by another guy. So I just throw it to you to say, does that mean officially Woody's staying? Is there some other political position that exists that Woody is then instead going to go to? So it's the same thing but a different title? Well, what's the latest here on this Woody Johnson situation?
So just because he did not receive the ambassadorship to the United Kingdom does not mean that he's going to have a place in the Trump administration. That's essentially what I've heard. It's still a wait and see kind of game. Okay. I know that many people tied his old position, of course, like the ambassador to the United Kingdom, as the pretty simple write-in candidate. Right away, Trump would do this and move forward with it. But to me, it's just going to be about what Woody wants to do, what the administration wants. If they want him involved in some other facet, they're going to make him involved. And then Woody will probably have to step down as owner of the Jets. And then Christopher Johnson will have full autonomy of this organization. And I think the one thing that we kind of forget is the fact that just because Woody Johnson would have been hired for the ambassador to the United Kingdom does not mean that that role would have started immediately, where he takes himself out of the conversation for the Jets head coach and general manager search. He was always going to be at the forefront of it. He's going to be making the final decision. So that will not change anything in regards to that.
All right, fair enough. Booyah, MFC says, hold my beer, baby. I've got another memberships to give. After giving one, he is now entered with a 5-pack special. And with that, he officially has a raffle ticket into that wonderful contest I just promised you guys all. Here are the 5 new members to the Boy Green Coffee Club. Indy Jets, Hennessy Heisman, David D., Wim, Mark Moose. You guys are all now members to the Boy Green Coffee Club, baby. And like I said, MFC, he just got a ticket to our Jets giveaway raffle at the end of the month. So keep it coming, baby. We love it. Shout out to MFC. NFC. On this Woody Johnson thing, though, as he's trying to figure out what the hell he wants to do in the middle of all his figuring, well, the Jets have a head coach and GM to hire now because of all the restrictions in the NFL. And you explained this before, Nick. Of all the rules, it's going to take some time. It's a little looser for GMs. It's more strict for the coaches that are have an NFL job in the middle of all this. So we're probably not going to get this figured out until maybe the end of January for everybody. And depending, again, if the Jets are going after a playoff coach or what have you. But how does this Woody thing of relative unknownness, whether or not he's going to be here or not, how does that mystery affect the search?
I don't think it's going to affect it at all. First off, it won't affect the 33rd team and their assessment of what candidates they're looking for. That's the first part about this. And the second part, I would assume, again, my assumption, is that the general manager will be hired before Woody Johnson, should he accept the position in the upcoming administration. It would not be something along the lines of he would get the acceptance letter, he would sign on the dotted line, and then immediately pull himself out of the GM search. I think that's the first position, the first domino that's going to fall for New York. And I think Woody is going to be a hands-on owner when it comes to that. The head coach will be a little more complex. You want the general manager to have his guy, the input along the entire team moving forward when it comes to the head coaching position. So that may be a little bit less of an influence from the owner, but at the same time, it really starts with the GM search. I think they're going to get that figured out before Trump is in office because they absolutely need to. They need to get this coaching hiring right. They need to get this executive hiring right, and you can't get the coaching hiring right without the executive first.
All right, let's make a quick pivot, to the Aaron Rodgers stuff. So he was on the Pat McAfee show, and boy, does he always say interesting things. But something I assumed was Aaron Rodgers would continue to be the quarterback until we reached a point, this was my assumption again, that okay, the Jets, which we found out this week, if the Jets lose to the Dolphins, are officially eliminated from the playoffs, but by all intents and purposes, they already are. They just clinched their 9th straight losing season. 13 of the last 14 years have been 500 or worse. So I figured once that hit that there would be some, whether a real reason or made up reason, that Rodgers could just kind of walk off into the sunset and Tyrod Taylor could come in, because why would Aaron Rodgers want to be on a team that's, like, say, they're 3-13 in the season finale? Why the hell is Aaron Rodgers playing? However, after hearing Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show, I have zero doubt that now he is playing until he'd be playing if they were 0-16, because it seems like from his comments on the Pat McAfee show that, one of his goals coming back from the Achilles surgery was playing in all 17 games. Now, he said he assumed that would be 17 games plus some playoff action, but he said obviously that's not happening this year. So he seems very motivated to play in all 17. And when Aaron, again, love or hate him, when Aaron Rodgers is motivated about something, he normally tries to accomplish it. So it feels like there's an emphaticness here that, while we talked about it yesterday on the radio, Nick, that there seemed to be, Jeff Ulbrich didn't immediately slam the door on it. He certainly did yesterday during the presser, but not immediately after the game. Now hearing this Rodgers stuff, it sounds like the Aaron Rodgers is the captain of this ship, and the Jet ship will go down with Aaron Rodgers at the helm.
Yeah, and listen, if you're the Jets, you have two solutions here. You either let Rodgers play out the entire season and sort of do right by him in that sense, where it's, listen, it didn't work out for us with you, but you were a consummate professional with us. You're trying to help change the culture. We appreciate you in that regard. We're going to let you play the entire season, win, lose, or draw, and just move on forward from there. And then, of course, there's the other side where the Jets could simply say, no, we want to see what we have in the other quarterbacks. I think, as we stand right now, it would make more sense for the Jets to just play Aaron Rodgers for the full 17 games, as long as he's healthy. Because, one, you don't need to see what you have in Tyrod Taylor. He's been playing for over a decade. You know what kind of quarterback he is. He's a dink and dunk guy. He's not going to take a lot of chances downfield. Nice scrambler. Consistently hurt a lot of times with some real durability issues, but by and large, a very solid backup to bridge quarterback. You don't need to see him on the field for the final 3 games to determine, if he was playing, we would have made the playoffs. No, that was never going to happen. So I don't see Tyrod Taylor just suddenly magically getting into the starting lineup right away. But there's also the other side of this coin where it's doing right by a veteran player. The Jets obviously have a very poor I would say, outlook across the league, and some players don't really want to go there because they feel that it's just, you're ending your career on a very bad team and a bad culture. But for a team to go out there and say, listen, it's a bad year, but we're still going to do right by our players, I think that's an important message moving forward for this new regime. So I do think there is there's a strength to allowing Rodgers to play the full 17 game seasons. I think it's smart. There's also really no other point. You're not making the playoffs this season. You're not winning with Rodgers, so it's not like you're tanking your draft status right now. Even when they're playing well, they find a way to lose, like they did against Seattle and like they did against the Indianapolis Colts. So I look at this and say, what's the purpose of throwing Tyrod Taylor in there other than to just screw Rodgers over and say, hey, you stink this year. You weren't what we signed up for, so because of that, we're gonna make we're gonna make your final month here a living hell. I just don't see that happening.
All right, so let me ask you this. Speaking of Rodgers, we talked about this on the radio as well, but one of my takes was if Aaron Rodgers looked awesome coming off the bye, that's a great sign. The rest helps.
Yeah.
He looked great. Okay, that's a good sign for what we're going to see through the final games, and maybe that can inspire other things. But my concern was if he didn't look good, and he did not. He looked good mobility-wise. Like I said, the beginning of the game, he was run all over the place, but 54% completion percentage. He missed Garrett Wilson wide open in the end zone. He missed him at the beginning of the game on a deep shot that really could have set the tone. Like, he just missed open guys. And I'm like, shoot, if he's missing open guys coming out of the bye, what suddenly is going to spark over the final 5 games? But before you answer that, just specifically, I'm in, this is just a personal question. Nick, I get you on the show. I get you for some personal stuff. I'm in fantasy football here, okay? And if I win this week, okay, I punch in a bye, get the first overall seed. It's terrific. Unfortunately, my quarterback is Lamar Jackson. He's on a bye this week. I currently have Aaron Rodgers in my lineup in a do-or-die, absolutely need-it game against the Miami Dolphins. Would you advocate for me to continue on the Rodgers train because it's a 1-week thing, or would you want me to vet and look through other options?
Well, my question would be, who's available in your league at the quarterback position?
Okay.
That is always the sort of that's always the background information you need to know before you make a roster.
Okay, so here's some quarterbacks. Here's some quarterbacks that are available. Okay, so Geno Smith against the Cardinals, Derek Carr against the Giants. Boy, and then
there's your answer, Paul.
Then the list is over. Okay.
The Giants secondary is one of the worst in the NFL. I think it actually might be the actual worst in the NFL. It would make a lot of sense for Derek Carr to be your starting quarterback this week.
Really?
Put it that way.
Okay.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Yep.
It's not to say that Rodgers can't put up strong fantasy points. Of course, this is how fantasy works. I tell you to cut Rodgers and sign Carr because of the matchups, and then Rodgers is going to throw 4 touchdowns. That's just how fantasy football works.
Boy.
But at the end of the day, you have to look at what they've shown on tape. And Aaron Rodgers, objectively, has been pitiful. I mean, absolutely pitiful in key moments throughout the last few weeks. He's errant with the football. It really started from play 1 against the Seahawks. They had Garrett Wilson lined up deep, and they had him on a shot. He had 1 to 2 yards on Reek Wilson, and Rodgers underthrew him, completely underthrew him. And Wilson made a good play. Tariq Woolen made a good play, and objectively made a good play. But if Rodgers puts that ball on him like he did back in his prime, that's a completely different story. The Jets are probably starting 7-0 on the first possession of the game for them offensively. It changes the whole complexion. Rodgers does not look like a very good quarterback right now. He's missing wide open targets, and when he's missing these wide open targets, he then comes back and forces the ball to some of his star receivers. That's exactly what happened during the pick 6 with Leonard Williams. So when I look at where Rodgers is and how bad he is struggling, I don't see him as a viable fantasy option right now.
So the Jets should have went with Derek Carr instead of Aaron Rodgers. That's what you're saying.
I want to preface that is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying for this week in particular, they're playing the Giants. The Giants secondary stinks.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm glad we could clarify that. That's important. So we have that going on for fantasy purposes, which is good because, like I said, I've got Lamar in a few leagues, which is great because things have gone very well. But I will need to find something else at least for the temporary. Another move the Jets made is they signed Kane and Guanu to the 53-man roster, which again makes sense. He has been on the practice squad since September. They finally use him. He explodes. Oh yeah, we got to keep this guy. Not going to get Spencer Schrader this time. So they bring him in. And the casualty is Izzy, Israel Bani Kanda. And when he gets cut, of course, he goes to waivers, so he can be claimed by any one of the 31 teams. And I was kind of in my head like, would someone, get in a race with Nick Faria? No, would someone, potentially claim Izzy? And he goes to San Francisco. Christian McCaffrey's out on IR. Their backup Jordan Mason's out on IR. My big question is he about to become the best running back in football and just plug and play, Shanahan slap on the ass and be this star running back for the 49ers? Because, man, it seems like there's a path to opportunity.
Well, if Trent Williams isn't playing, I have a hard time believing that. And, my prayers go out to him and his family with what's going on their side. Just absolutely awful. I have my own opinions on Williams, the player, but you never wish anything like that on them. But going back to Abanikanda, listen, that's the perfect place for him to go. San Francisco has turned mediocre running backs into stars very, very quickly. Abanikanda never really got a true opportunity with the Jets. And, it doesn't really matter anymore because he's no longer with the organization. But Joe Douglas, he did a lot of good with draft picks. He also made a lot of mental mistakes. And the fact that he took, I think the number was 5 straight years of drafting a running back at some point in the draft, it's just very poor roster construction, because when you are wasting draft picks on players that you are shuffling left and right just to see if there's someone you can buy into at a non-valuable position. Running backs nowadays, they're interchangeable for a lot of different teams. And yes, the value is sort of increased with Saquon and Derrick Henry, but by and large, this is a position that is not valued highly when it comes to cap constraints. So the fact that the Jets spent 5 different draft picks in 5 different seasons on running backs that are no longer with the team, that's a really bad look. And could that pick have gone to an offensive lineman? Could that pick have gone into the depth of the defensive line, a quarterback, a receiver, positions of higher positional value, organizational value to their team? That's absolutely the case. So Abanikanda, I liked what I saw out of him out of college. He was a nice, solid player, had a couple good preseason outings. I thought they would give him an opportunity in the return game, but that never really was created with Xavier Gibson there. But the fact that Nguanu walked into the building, essentially walked into MetLife, and stole the final running back spot from Abanikanda, that is a terrible, terrible look on the late round scouting reports from the Jets, because they wasted so many picks in the Joe Douglas era on running backs that are no longer on the team.
I'm curious here for the Jets. One of the strengths, for lack of a better word, that could be happening for the Jets heading into 2025 is at least this time you're going to know most of your offensive line. 4 of the 5 should be back, and there's a chance 5 of the 5 could be back if they are able to re-sign Morgan Moses, who really seems like he loves playing here, but boy, he's been going through a lot of injuries recently after being an NFL Ironman for the majority of his career prior to the last 2-3 seasons. So I'm curious, do you view it in the same way that this is a strength for the next regime that's taking over for the Jets in terms of this trench warfare? And what's your temperature on Morgan? Is he a guy that's coming back? Is he a guy that's gone and they're going in a different direction?
So I think this is not just a good thing that's happening for the organization, but it's one of the reasons why this job will be attractive in the first place. You look at places like the New Orleans Saints and the Chicago Bears, where their offensive lines have really struggled this season. And you would have to essentially start by rebuilding those lines for whoever the GM coach, comparison is. That's something that sort of goes away from those types of teams. And the Jets obviously don't have a quarterback, so that sort of dings them down as well. But the offensive line is an incredibly hard position group to get right, because you need all 5 to play well and play well together. For the first time in a very long time, it seems like there is a light at the end of the tunnel for the Jets when it comes to that position. Olu Fashanu last week was fantastic, absolutely fantastic against the Seattle Seahawks. And the Seahawks defensive line, that's been pretty underrated this year. It's not to say that they are elite, but they're pretty good. And Olu Fashanu, 42 snaps, no pressures. That is as good as you are going to get at the tackle position. I know the debate and conversation about Brock Bowers, but the performance from Fashanu on Sunday really, to me, sort of enhanced the fact that the Jets made the right pick. It's just not going to be seen right away. So very happy and pleased with the way Olu Fashanu played. John Simpson has been a revelation at times, who's been really, really good for New York this year. And then Joe Tippmann taking the next step in his development as a center. The real question mark is going to be on the right side, not just with Morgan Moses, but Elijah Vera Tucker. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. The new regime is going to have to make a decision on his overall contract. I do believe that there's a path forward to getting the entire starting five back for another year, but there's a lot of questions that are going to have to be answered. What's the team going to do in the first round of the NFL draft? What are the draft picks going to look like? Is it a top 5 pick? Is it a top 10 pick? A lot of those questions still have to be answered. And once they do, it will make the roster picture a lot easier to see.
Yeah, this is an absolutely ridiculous question I'm about to ask you because we don't know who the head coach is. We don't know who the GM is, and that obviously leads to everything else. But a lot of people are starting to circle the wagons around the draft, naturally, for everything that's been going on. Is there any either position or player target for you that you like a lot that you think, hey, man, maybe the Jets should be dipping their toes in these waters? Currently, they have a top 10 pick, and it seems like that is probably where they're going to reside, barring some sort of a 5-game winning streak that seems incredibly unlikely. So is there either a player position that you're kind of honing in on?
Yeah, so I actually wrote an article on F1 Sports about this yesterday, so guys, check it out. But I essentially broke down each position of value. And
Wow.
the top 3, in my opinion, obviously, quarterback. They need a quarterback. If you are in a position to draft either Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders, you run that pick up to the podium. They're very good quarterbacks. Are they of the same caliber as a Caleb Williams and Drake May? Probably not. But I do want to point out that the 2015 draft class, quarterback class, was seen as excellent, fantastic, future, Hall of Fame bust and everything else. And then the following draft class with Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, they were seen as afterthoughts. Teams were going to be reaching on them. And if you were to look right now at the quarterback class and say, okay, which teams are happier with the picks they made, it's the 2016 class. So we don't know how good these quarterbacks are going to be in the National Football League. There are so many factors that come into play. So when fans hear that this quarterback class is far weaker than the previous one, the historical one from last year where 6 went in the top 12, I always want to pump the brakes a little bit in regards to that because I don't think that's fair to anybody. It's not fair to the 2023 quarterback class. 2024 quarterback class, but it's not fair to the 2025 class as well because Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders are very, very good. So quarterback to me is certainly a position of value to look at if they can get within the top 2 picks. Outside of that, though, they got to focus on the trenches. And Joe Douglas gutted the defensive line depth in a big way this past offseason. That's got to be fixed. The names that I'm looking at right now, obviously, are Abdul Carter and the guy from Michigan, the defensive tackle from Michigan. I believe
Mason Graham. Yep.
But interior defensive line, find someone who can finally partner with Quinnen Williams on an every down basis, but also edge rusher. We don't know, and I know I caught a lot of flack from some Jet fans when I said it, but the Jets' known players along the edge this year are Will McDonald, and that's it. We don't know how Jermaine Johnson is going to be following his Achilles surgery. It is very, very foolish to assume that the Jets are going to be perfectly fine with Jermaine Johnson coming off an Achilles injury. That's only 2 edge rushers. You need to be able to find someone, really quick, want to make sure I have the right view here, but you need to be able to make sure that you have a full collection of edge rushers that you can trust moving forward, not just 2 players, particularly one coming off of Achilles surgery. So when I look at where the Jets are right now and what they need to do in terms of the positions of focus, defensive tackle is obvious, quarterback is obvious, but edge rusher is something that really needs to be addressed to make sure that you have the right guys in place moving forward.
All right, fair enough. Guys, we're about to open up the phone lines here, so feel free to call into the show. That is the pinned comment on youtube.com/boygreen25. Again, a quick update on our contest. Every membership that gets gifted this month gets you in our emoji contest. Again, whoever has the most gifted memberships will get our custom emoji at the end of the month. But if you'd like to be a part of our surprise giveaway, it includes merch, autograph merch, hats, jersey, shirts, all kinds of wonderful gifts and prizes. You just got to get 5 memberships at a time, and you'll be entered into the contest. Shout out to Flora Lily in Big D. She's currently our emoji contest leader with 10 memberships gifted this month. Number 1 Austrian Jet fans in there with 8. Mother effing Chew has 6. We have FL Phil 98. He's got 5 gifted this month, and all of them also have raffle tickets from 5-pack gifting of membership. So, guys, keep the contest rolling, and we'll be right back after this quick message.
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Talking just football, man. Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. The New York Jets Football Club. Wow. Offense, defense, special teams. Watch the Super Bowl season with Boy Green. J-E-T-S. Jets.
Come on, baby. How does that not get you in the mood? Which, speaking of, another thing that gets me in the mood, if people were curious with too much information, number 1 Austrian Jet fan just gifted a membership, baby. You love to friggin' see it. To Jay Lepsetter, you have now been gifted a membership, and our number 1 Austrian Jet fan is just one membership, behind the league leader this month, which is Flora Lily in Big D with 10 memberships. Austrian Jet fan now up to 9 memberships gifted this month. Love it. Competition breeds success, baby. Let's jump over to the phone lines. We have the one and only Chef Kevin Gilbert.
BG, Nick, how y'all doing today?
Excellent, man. Thanks for calling in.
Great. Yo, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. BG, man, congrats to you and your family with your newborn, man. I don't think I had a chance to tell you, but congrats on that. So with Woody Johnson, obviously President-elect looks at how he's running the squad over here. He's like, you ain't doing that over here, making me look bad or whatever. So now with Woody, and I've heard him say this before in interviews where he likes to let his football people run the football operations and all that, but he still likes to have a say. Do you guys feel like this time he's not going to interfere at all? Because he said this before. He obviously went over JD's head, fired Solin, did all these requests for trades, and saying out loud in public that he wanted to bring in Reddick and all this kind of stuff, like undermining what Joe D and the front office is doing. Do you guys really honestly feel that Woody's going to just let his people do what they got to do, whoever he brings in?
Yes, and here's why. Kevin, it's a great question. First off, with Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, I think what really did them in was a lack of trust with Woody Johnson. The results were never showing, even though the talent on the roster was undeniable. And when the owner doesn't trust you to make decisions, that's where your ass is in the fire, and you're like, okay, well, we can see the writing on the wall. We have to remember, Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, these are football people. They were good football people before they got to New York. They were well regarded in NFL circles, but Woody Johnson wasn't the one that hired him. He was hired after Woody Johnson left for those regimes. So there was a lack of initial trust going in that he was the guy who hired them. He was in the interview process. He wasn't involved in that time. So I think it's fair to say that a lack of trust really was the big problem. And that will be different in this regard because the Jets are going to have a firm come in and help them out with this search. Woody Johnson is going to sign off on these hires. So I think there is a key point to this conversation and that question to show Woody wasn't involved in the initial hiring process for either of the two guys he fired, and now he is. So that will certainly change the trust factor moving forward.
Yeah, excuse my Guatemalan here, but I like that Woody's not going to be big dicking around. He's not going to be big Johnsoning around here. He hired the 33rd team to help. To me, for Jet fans, at least, I know some are pissed off because they're like, Tannenbaum, boo, or Spielman, boo. I don't like their GM tenures. Whether or not you like or don't like their tenures is a different conversation. Combined, they have 55 years of NFL experience. That can only help, and they're not hiring the guys directly. They're just supposed to be vetting candidates, providing information so Woody can make a more informed decision. And it sounds like, I can't remember the reporter on this, so I apologize, whether it was Rich Cimini or Connor Hughes or what have you, but there may be more people coming in the room, maybe not necessarily the interview room, but another 33rd team, another insider, someone who's been around the block. I'm making up a name like Bill Parcells, but whoever that is another person that can be someone to listen to and bounce ideas off of and listen to more people. So long story short, Woody seems to be more open to the possibility of listening to football people, which I don't know if that's going to guarantee he's going to get the hire right, but it should at least make it a more informed decision.
So with BG, with what you just said, is that like a hypothetical kind of thing, or are they really bringing in like somebody in addition to Tannenbaum?
So Rich Cimini, again, I'm going to say it's Rich. I can't remember the insider was, but they said that more people were coming, that it was not stopping at the 33rd team. But the reporting of who it is, or who it will be has not been revealed yet, from my understanding. Go ahead, Nick.
Sorry.
No, I completely agree with the entire point. And again, you want as many eyes on these hires as possible. And the beauty of having Tannenbaum and Spielman coming in, people will look and say, well, their GM tenure sucks, so how can they find talent in their organizations? But the poor records for executives does not mean that they don't have connections. And that's what the Jets need right now. They need connections that can bring talented individuals to their organization. I look at Howie Roseman. The biggest calling card for him is always finding these unbelievable assistants and executives that are able to come in and be hired by other teams. You want that same kind of development for your organization as well. So very, very similar talking points here. You want people with a lot of experience, because that kind of experience shows, hey, this guy's really good. This guy's really smart. We could take a flyer on him for an assistant GM job and sort of build that team up from scratch.
And so, just to answer your question, Jeff, it's not supposed to be a hypothetical of like, oh, wouldn't that be nice? It's supposed to be real, that person is supposed to also be coming in. And with it being New York, that name is, if and when that person's hired, it sure sounds like that name is going to come out as well.
Because for me, it just feels like with all these names there, like, couldn't that be a little confusing? Let's say, like with what you said, like Parcells and Tannenbaum and Spielman, they're all not on the same page. Like, then who's the mediator to step in and trump what they have to say so that Woody can make a clear, sound decision?
To me, I don't think it's going to be like a boardroom where, Nick Ferry comes in and says, I'm an Aaron Glenn guy. And then, Chef Kevin Gilbert goes like, fuck you, buddy. I'm actually a Ben Johnson guy. Blow me. I don't think it's going to be this aggressive thing. I think, to me, it's going to be a separate thing. The 33rd team's like, boom, here's our information. Here's our candidates. You should check them out. And then Woody's making a call to, again, we're using Bill Parcells as an example. He's like, oh, I've actually worked with this guy and this guy before. Off that list. That sounds great. But actually, you should check out this guy. And that's how I think the process is going to go. I don't know if it's going to be some contentious thing where people are battling for this guy or this guy, like a Hall of Fame, debate point of who's getting in, this guy or this guy. I think it's going to be a lot of information presenting, and then ultimately Woody's going to pull the trigger on what he thinks. Now, the one thing I can ask Nick, and hopefully it circles around to all this, because I think what Jet fans want, and I hate to gloss over and generalize, but is a football person. Is that some director of football operations, some sort of a football czar, something of that nature? Nick, that's been talked about a lot, but to circle it back to you, is it just chatter and we're all saying, oh, that would be a really smart thing to do, to what Chef asked earlier? Is that a hypothetical? Is that a hypothetical and it's not really happening and we're just kind of openly talking about it? Or is that something legitimately being considered?
No, and again, it comes back to the way organizations now move forward. How many teams have director of football operations, that exact position that you're talking about? How many teams in the NFL currently have that?
Not many. I'll have to double check.
And the reason why is because most of the GMs have that title on them. You want the GM hire to be the football czar, if you will, like you said, that makes the roster decisions for the team. And what happens is normally a person is hired to the GM title and they do a good job right away. They are then promoted to director of football operations / general manager. It's just a little bit of an added raise for that particular person. The football czar is going to be the general manager, and it can't be anyone else, because if you are having a director of football operations and a general manager, well, now you're talking about two different people with two different opinions on how to build a roster. That can create disorganization. It can create leaks. That's not what you want. If you're hiring a director of football operations, you need to make sure that he is the general manager. And you don't do that before hiring the GM. You hire the GM and then see if he does a good job and then promote him to that particular position.
All right, fair enough. Chef,
Yeah, that
anything
makes
else?
sense. Yeah, so I'll just 2 cents. I'm a Cam Ward guy. My college
Ooh,
team is
okay.
Miami.
I just saw him
I
here in
just feel
Syracuse. Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like with his arm and mechanics, I feel like that will really help us. We need somebody like that's really poised in the pocket. Shador seems like he's a little bit more mobile than Cam, but I just feel like Cam is like a Dante Culpepper kind of dude, like big
Ooh,
body,
good pull.
can move a little bit, but not too fast.
McNabb was better.
Has yeah I think the great poise in the pocket, I just think I feel like that will help us out if we do slip down as far as possible, because looking at the schedule, man, I really don't see and much wins. The January 5th game, that's our last game at home against the Dolphins. Like the following day, I just feel like clean house, all the OC Carter and everybody, they're all obviously gone. The the draft picks that Joe's had that didn't really pan out too well, like the Ruckards and the Clemens and all that. I have a good feeling that they'll be easily like waived by the new regime that comes in, just because of just production and whatnot, and not having any ties or loyalty and all that stuff. But BG, if you don't mind, man, for some reason I can't like gift memberships.
Oh, okay.
Could I super chat you, and then you just kind of do the gifting for me?
Sure. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, feel free.
All right. I'm gonna do that right now. As
Awesome.
always, Nick, BG, man, appreciate all your content and what y'all do, man.
I appreciate that, Chef. Thank you so much. Yes, feel free. Yeah, if you guys are having problems with gifting memberships, you want to get involved, feel free. You guys can do the YouTube Super Chat. Speaking of, we got a bunch of gifted memberships to catch up on, plus the phone calls. I mean, it is raining the holiday season. Getting back in here, Mr. Flowers, you were just gifted that membership from MFC, and I'll update the leaderboard here in a second because I'm going to catch up on all these people that have joined in here, and then I'll give you guys an update on the leaderboard coming up here in just a second. So shout out to MFC for gifting a membership. We had someone who said, you know what, hold my beer. I'm going to punch my own ticket to this party, and that is Harvey Bouchard Jr., who says, I'm back, baby. Welcome back, Harvey. It's great to have you. We missed you, Harvey Bouchard Jr. Okay, let's keep rolling here. We had another membership. Jared B gifting a membership. Okie dokie. Very nice. The draft chimes. It puts me back in the mood. Here's a breaking the fourth wall of information you guys never wanted to know. One of my, you can have like a favorites tab of like playing things. The draft day soundtrack is on there. I listen to that all the time. I'm just writing articles. I'm just draft day. I'm just doing that all day. So for people that are just like,
it's a good one.
If a guest is on the show and they just see me wearing headphones, just kind of like doing a head bob, draft day. That's probably what I'm listening to before the show. Shout out to Jared B. Joseph Rivera just got a gifted membership from our guy Jared B. Very nice. Terrence Hill just gifted a membership, baby. That goes to Swamp Ranger. Okay, another one. I love it. You guys are all getting involved here, and this is freaking beautiful, baby. You love to see it. You love to see the support. This contest is going like nobody's business. So here we go. Let me make sure I play your chime. I don't want to cheat out of your chime, Terrence. Beautiful. And there you go. And Ace of Spade, a YouTube super chat coming in. Good Lord, it's hard to keep track of all this hoopla going on right now.
Wow.
Ace of Spade actually has a question he wanted to throw in here. Nick, what is your checklist for hiring a good general manager?
number one on the list, he has to draft well. Got to draft well. He's got to be able to identify good quarterbacks. When I say draft well, you got to make sure you get the quarterback position right. The second thing is you want to make sure that you are well respected in NFL circles, so teams will want to trade with you. And then, of course, the third and most important is you got to have good positional awareness. You don't want to put and give the highest contract ever to safeties and linebackers when those aren't high positions of value anymore in the National Football League. You want to make sure the offensive line, defensive line, quarterbacks, those are positions that you value more than anyone else. So those are the top three things that I look for in a GM, and it really can describe a lot of different people in this NFL right now. We got a lot of good GM candidates available, a lot of good with a lot of experience. So really, to me, the Jets are going to be able to find their guy. It's just a matter of who it's going to be. What kind of tree is he coming from? Is he coming from the San Francisco 49ers tree? Is he coming from Philadelphia, Detroit? There are a lot of places that can really give the Jets some good talent here.
No question about it. So good question, good YouTube super chat coming in there, Ace of Spade. And like I said, I'll also include the YouTube super chats. I'll try to include that as well into some of the contest and things that we'll be doing. All right, let's go to the phone lines here. We'll continue the conversation. And we got Julio Kelly here on the show. What's up, Julio?
What's up, Boy Green?
Hey, what's popping?
All right. Man, I had this thing came on my YouTube the other day, a couple of days ago. But I was out of town for Thanksgiving, so I couldn't address it with you.
Okay.
But I'm hearing a lot of interest in that Jets might sell the team, Johnson & Johnson. I heard that Jeff Bezos is like on top of the list of trying to buy the Jets. Interesting.
Well, I know that Bezos was in the running for the Commanders and then he lost out. But from what I understand, and Nick is the reporter here, he can give us the juicy deets on this. I just heard someone release, like, there's betting odds for, like, who's the next head coach of the Jets, and, like, Bill Belichick is apparently on top of that list. Like, I think people are just putting – I don't know this, so, like, this is just my reaction to what I saw, to the same thing you saw over the weekend. I thought people just put really expensive, like a rumor out there, and then it caught wildfire. Like, some people said, hey, look at all these very expensive people who could buy the Jets. They would be in the running to buy them. That's all I heard in terms of rumor land. But, Nick, tell us your information.
I haven't heard anything about the Johnsons willing to sell the Jets at this point. But I did hear that, again, just because there are betting odds does not mean that they're actually looking to sell. It's a clear distinction here that kind of shows it's not exactly what people may want or what's actually happening in that regard.
All right. Because that ran me crazy. I said, that's the first time I ever heard. Besides, I forgot the other guy named that wanted to buy the Jets because he's a big Jets fan. But now I hear Jeff Bezos. I said, wow, is it they're trying to do something under the table and the Johnsons want to get out? And I was like, all right, I'm going to ask Boy Green because he knows.
Damn straight, baby.
But
that's right.
With the Bill Belichick thing that I kept on hearing, I got a sense if the only way Bill Belichick will take this job if he have a superstar quarterback, and meaning that a veteran, and that means that Aaron Rodgers got to bow down to the man and do what he wants to do, like Tom Brady did.
Yeah, I heard. So the thing I did not hear was the full Bill Belichick interview on the Pat McAfee show. But a lot of people were creating buzz because you have the Bill Belichick odds for the Jets coaches out on those betting apps, and then Bill Belichick says something to the effect of, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers can be quickly fixed," and people went, "Huh? Oh, so Bill wants to go to the Jets because he can fix Aaron Rodgers." I heard a lot of people connecting those dots, Julio.
Yeah, and like that's crazy because it's all over ESPN. And
yeah, that's crazy.
ESPN come with something big, it happens. And like, okay, I want Aaron Glenn, but they're thinking Bill Belichick. But wasn't that we hired Bill Belichick and he dusted us off and went to another team?
It did. That's why I don't think it's going to happen. And hey, I haven't heard this interview yet. I just saw Victor Green talking about it on social media, but he joined Rich Samini on his podcast this week, which I've not heard yet, but I do listen every week. Victor Green made the case for Aaron Glenn. He apparently pounded the table and made this passionate case for him. I'm looking forward to hearing that, to hear like his points and what he had to say about it. But that's who Victor Green has pounded the table for.
Believe it or not, I'm old school. I'm 50 years old. So I've been in that era where Ken O'Brien was our quarterback.
There you go, baby. Yeah.
And I was there when we went 15-1.
Mm-hmm.
So Aaron Glenn, that's a Bill Parcells soldier.
Of course.
So when he comes, and I hope we do, when he comes in, that's familiar. That's home.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to stop this playoff drop. We got to find a way to get back to the playoffs.
For God's
sakes,
please.
What's the easiest way to end the playoff drought, Julio?
Uh-huh.
Well, answer me the question. What's the easiest way to end the playoff drought?
For me, all right, we got to stop the nonsense of putting all this pressure on the Jets. And it starts with the management to the coaches and even on the players and fans. Because every year we put ourselves, like we shoot ourselves in the butt. Yeah, we going to make it to the playoff. If we leave stuff alone and let the process work, we will make it. There was a quote that Bill Parcells said, every year. I don't care if my running back runs for 40 to 60 yards. That 40 or 60 yards going to add, and we're going to win games because we running the ball first and then throwing and let the defense do all the work. Stop trying to bring all these legends in. Let's try to build a team now. And, I'm not saying let's go after a quarterback. We got a quarterback that's sitting down. We got a quarterback that's sitting down on Jordan Travis. It's the first time we ever had a rookie quarterback sit for a whole year. And if Aaron come back and he start messing up, throw the kid in. I seen it happen.
Yeah.
Look at Patrick Mahomes. He sat down. And then we threw him in. They threw him in. Aaron Rodgers, the same way. Brett Favre. Then they threw him in a couple of years later. We got a kid sitting down. And they're already talking about a new quarterback. A draft for quarterback. We got one sitting here. Let's get it straight. Didn't he take Florida State undefeated? And if he didn't get hurt, he probably could have went further.
That's true.
The kid sat from his injury for 2 years. I believe 2 years now, right?
Yeah.
Rookie year here and the year in college where he got hurt. So he's learning the system.
All right. Let's keep an eye on the kid.
This is a chance for him to show himself because everybody forgetting about him. They just saying, let's draft a new quarterback. We know already what happened when we draft and put a quarterback by the way to start. Now we got a kid sitting there. He know what could go wrong, and he been on a winning team.
Yeah, let's fingers crossed, Julio. I like it. Let's get some Jordan Travis love going. I absolutely love it. Let's spread the gospel on all things JT. I hope he gets a chance. The only thing is if the Jets draft a quarterback, like some of us think is possible, you have Tyrod Taylor, you have drafted guy, and then maybe you have or Tyrod Taylor, rookie that you draft, and maybe Jordan Travis still on the roster. I hope he gets his chance to compete. I agree with you. And we have Nick Faria back here. And good Lord have mercy, Chef Kevin Gilbert has dropped a 50 spot for the love of everything that's holy. Good Lord. $50. Good Lord have mercy. Here is Fastest Food Reviews, a.k.a. Chef Kevin Gilbert. For the Coffee Club, I appreciate your commitment by giving us great Jets content. I first started calling in over the past offseason. You gave me the floor. Thanks for allowing us to speak on your platform. And, Chef, you have obviously been entered into the contest, and you are the new leader for this month in the emoji contest. And plus, you have also won a bounty of raffle tickets as well for all our Jets giveaways, which gives you multiple opportunities there. Yeah, so Chef Kevin Gilbert has just laid down the pipe here. He is now in first place in our emoji contest this month, followed closely behind by Fleur Lillian, Big D, and number one Austrian Jet fan are at 10 and 9 respectively behind Chef Kevin Gilbert here. So this contest, long story short, is getting incredibly spicy, Nick. Incredibly spicy.
Beautiful to see.
Yeah, you're damn straight it is. So thank you, Chef. Appreciate that as well. All right, let's head back to the phone lines. And Chef, thank you so much. That is massive, absolutely massive. And like I said, you're the new league leader this month for the emoji contest, and you've been entered into our giveaway with several raffle tickets. All right, let's go over to Johnny Boy here on the show. What's up, Johnny?
Boy Green, Nick, what's going on, guys?
Hey, what's
going on, buddy?
Oh, living the dream, baby. Hey, shout out to Chef Kev, man. Wow. That dude's ain't a good guy, man. Hey, yeah. Shout out to Cloverleaf Tavern as well. Mm-hmm. You guys got to go check it out, bro.
Okay.
Wanted to talk in regards of the Pat McAfee interview and get a little bit of Nick's insight as well. I know one of the biggest knocks on Aaron Rodgers was if we get some young offensive-minded coach, right, will he be able to say, okay, I'm going to learn whatever you guys want to do. You are the coach, you're the GM, et cetera, et cetera. On the show yesterday, on his interview with Pat, right, he's pretty much saying that whatever coach comes over here, you got to learn from him because, you're auditioning for the new guys. You got to conform to whatever they're going to go do. You got to adapt to it. Do you guys believe that? Because for myself, I'm back on board with Aaron Rodgers as much as I don't want to, but like him saying the stuff and talking about the Jets and how much he appreciates what they've done for him and the stuff. And then, or maybe he's just talking like that because of his new documentary coming out. And then, so I wanted to ask that. And then my second question, I'm dropping off my kid, was within the draft itself. Do we really need to go? And this is for Nick. Do we really need to go quarterback, or do we go like a defensive lineman? Your Graham, your Grant, the kid from Texas, Williams, which I think there's some really big run stuffers that are there for us. I appreciate you guys. Keep doing your stuff. BG always. Nick, is always a pleasure, bro. Hey, always. Soto baby to the Mets. 14 years, 690? Question mark.
Just put it up to 700 and sign the check.
There you go.
I hear you.
Thanks,
Johnny.
I
appreciate you guys, man. Let me know.
So
okay, couple of things, sir. Go ahead.
So with Aaron Rodgers and a new coach, that relationship is going to be very interesting because you look at how rocky the LaFleur-Rodgers relationship started. You have to wonder if the quarterback would be willing to go through a similar situation like that again. But again, it's why I continue to push for a young offensive mind. Someone who's going to have fresh ideas, run a modern offense, and knows how to develop young quarterbacks so we can see whether Jordan Travis is legit or if the team is going to draft a quarterback in the upcoming couple of drafts moving forward. So a young offensive mind is always the right pick for me. That relationship is going to be interesting. I'm not going to make a prognostication about whether or not it's going to work out with Rodgers because I don't know who the guy is. I don't know what the idea for the GM is going to be. Will the GM want him back in the first place? That's going to be another part of the equation as well. And in regards to the draft, listen, will the Jets have a good draft if they select Abdul Carter over Cam Ward? Maybe. Would they have a great draft if they drafted Mason Graham over Cam Ward? Sure. It's not to say that the team needs to draft a quarterback, but if they fall in love with either Ward or Sanders and they're available to draft, you don't just punt the quarterback conversation away. That's what the Giants did this past year. They punted the quarterback conversation from last year's draft class and said, we're going to take the best available player, and that's going to work for us. But at the end of the day, they didn't draft a quarterback, and their now quarterback room is as questionable as ever. You don't pass on a quarterback if you fall in love with one of these guys. And to me, if the Jets like Cam Ward, if they like Sanders a lot, it's a no-brainer. You take them over Mason Graham. You take them over Abdul Carter every day of the week.
Yeah. Again, it's all going to depend where they pick as well. That's going to be a big factor because like they could end up with one of these players that Johnny said before, Mason Graham or that, because they didn't have a chance at Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders because they go higher. So there's a lot of conversation to be had depending on where they draft. Now the analytics, ESPN just dropped like who's the top 5 favorites to land the number 1 pick. The Jets aren't even in the top 5. There's the Giants featured, and Raiders, and Patriots, and Jaguars. And I think there is an assumption that Aaron Rodgers and his team is so talented that they're going to win games, but somewhere. But like I said, there has not been any, despite that reason of like, oh, wow, they're really talented. Besides that, there doesn't seem to be any legitimate reason why they're going to win a bunch of these games because, quite frankly, they just haven't shown it yet. But maybe, again, something is just going to randomly pop here. There's a lot of Jet fans who have been in the comment section that says, Rodgers is going to win us 2 or 3 games, folks. Just watch and keep us out of this draft conversation or that draft conversation because they said, I've just been a Jet fan long enough and I know how it works.
Well, listen, I completely agree. I said it during the Seahawks game when they were up 21-7, and I'm sitting there and saying, "Wow, only the Jets can be as bad as they have been for the last 2 months and still hurt their draft stock for the one game that they put together." Truly feels for Jets fans. I completely see that happening moving forward, and it's a bad place to be overall, where you're not so bad that you're getting the top pick. But it's not exactly that you're barn burners here either.
Yeah, go figure. Again, we got 400 people in the room. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe, spread the gospel of all things Boy Green Daily. And again, as you see on the scrolling ticker, and that'll be prevalent for every show that I do, both Boy Green Daily and Boy Green Meets Woody, which is on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Again, every membership you gift will enter you into the contest, and every 5 memberships you gift. And I'm keeping track of it. So for certain people that have gifted, 111 and then a gift 2, you could also get a raffle ticket that way. So Chef Kevin Gilbert, with his blockbuster delivery, is in first place in the overall emoji contest. He's got 16. He's got the most raffle tickets as well. So guys, make sure you guys get involved. Also, shout out, like I said, to a couple of the other leaders at the top of the board that are near. Number 1 Austria Jet fan with 9 memberships this month. Going over to, we've got Flora Lily in Big D has 10, and Chef Kevin Gilbert, when you do the math, beep boop bop, at $50 is 16 memberships that have been gifted. So for people that, again, are struggling with the overall gifting of memberships, if there's some problem there, you guys can do big super chats just like Chef Kevin Gilbert, and we'll add that up and do the math to get you over there to make sure that you guys are also represented there as well. All right, Nick, to wrap up here before we get you out of here, we have Jets Dolphins this weekend. What is going to happen? The Dolphins are on the outside of the playoffs looking in after a disappointing Thursday night loss on Thanksgiving to the Green Bay Packers, but they're still technically alive in this thing, a lot more alive, obviously, than the New York Jets. So I'm curious here. What are we going to get as Jets fans against the Miami Dolphins?
It's going to be ugly. Said it on your radio show yesterday, Paul. This is a Dolphins team that has had the Jets' defensive numbers even when they were elite in the last couple of seasons. So Tua coming back and healthy. They're back in Miami in the confines of a warm Florida weather. I think this is going to be very, very bad for the Jets, and just further the hole in the ground that they have dug themselves in, and to the point where they're going to be competing more for the number 1 overall pick than a top 10, top 15 pick.
All right, let's squeeze in one last super chat coming in here from our guy Ace of Spade.
Wow.
At first, I read this as Chef Borgonzi, but he meant Chief. He didn't mean. I'm just an idiot and can't read top to bottom, left to right. He says, Chief Borgonzi, the assistant general manager. I heard great things about him. A candidate? ? He's been a popular name on some of the list here, Nick.
Absolutely. It seems like he was a top popular name for Spielman and Tannenbaum when they tried to help out with the Commanders last year as well. So that's to me a no-brainer interview and candidate for this particular role. Has good player personnel experience, helped the Chiefs build out a dynasty like this. Very, very easy to see why New York would be interested.
All right, beautiful. Nick, have a great day, man. We'll check in with you next week.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
There he is, Nick Ferrier, Jets reporter from Athlon Sports, joining us here on the program. Guys, this has been a fun, exciting show. I love it. All the different super chats and memberships and everything that's coming in. And again, I'll give one more shout out to the leaderboard here in Ace of Spades. We've added up all your super chats. So you're also in our emoji contest as well. So again, we've got Chef Kevin Gilbert, who's got 16 memberships gifted this month. Like I said, once you translate all his super chats, Flora Lillian Big D is at 10. Number one Austrian Jet fan at 9. Mother effing Chew at 7. FL Phil 98 at 5. Those are all our leaders, and we got a bunch of people in the ones with Jared B, Terrence Hill, Ace of Spade, Harvey Bouchard, and so many more. And again, every time you guys add up to these points, again, 5, 10, 15, 25, 30, you're going to get a raffle ticket when you add up to those. FL Phil 98 gifted 5 membership. He's got a raffle ticket there as well. Austrian Jet fans at 9, one more membership gifted. They will be at an extra raffle ticket. So we're going to be keeping an eye on all this juicy stuff to give you guys, like I said, the great chances to win a bunch of really, really cool prizes. And I appreciate you guys supporting the friggin' show, baby. It means all the world. So I appreciate it. Guys, we'll be back on tomorrow morning for Boy Green Daily on a Thursday edition of the show. We'll also have a Dolphins insider joining us, my boy, Brian Miller. If you've been a fan of my show, we've been doing this for the last 10 years or so. Or 15 years, really. I mean, this Jet show has been going on for a long time. I've been doing a lot of these episodes with Brian Miller, who's a Dolphins insider. He's been covering the team for a long time. We have a lot of fun conversations. So that'll be tomorrow at 3 o'clock, Boy Green meets Woody. Hope you guys can all check it out there. And again, no matter what show I'm on, whether it's Boy Green Daily or it's Boy Green meets Woody, you guys can enter this contest as long as you see the scrolling ticker down below, and I'll be keeping track of that stuff behind the scenes. So feel free to enter the contest all month long, baby. It's the season of giving here on Boy Green Daily. I want to give back to you awesome fans for all the support that you guys have given us. So shout out to everybody again. Chef Kevin Gilbert, shout out to MFC, shout out to Terrence Hill, shout out to Ace of Spades for all the super chats today. Again, it's a lot of fun. You guys, Jared B and so many other wonderful people. Thank you guys for supporting the program. All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow morning for Boy Green Daily. Take care.